Hey everyone, this is Craig talking to you from Armenia. I hope you know where Armenia is. It's a very special place. It's one of the oldest Christian nations in the world, actually the first nation in the world to establish Christianity as its nation's faith in 301 AD. So it's good to talk to you from here. We're talking about the 10 qualities of an effective leader. Last time we did number 3, which is a good communicator. A good effective leader is a good communicator. And it's important because part of leadership clearly is casting vision. We said that leadership is not about position, but about influence, and we use our influence to cast vision, because a leader is someone who knows where they're going and can take other people with them. But to take other people with them, you need to communicate. You need to cast vision. But that's very connected to this fourth quality of an effective leader, and that is this: that effective leaders are also good listeners. Christian leaders, hey, we are trained to speak, right? We talk and talk, but effective leaders first learn to listen. In John chapter 8, verse 28, Jesus said, "I do nothing on my own authority, but I speak just what the Father has taught me." Jesus' ministry flowed out of listening to the Father. In James 1:19, it says, "Let every person be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry." You can't be a good communicator if you are not a good listener. I promise you that. Instead, we'll end up answering a whole lot of questions that no one is answering around us. We think we're communicating so well, but again, we're answering questions that they're not even asking because we're not listening. What questions are those around you asking? If I asked your leaders what your dream is for your church, what your dream is for your ministry, what would they say? Would it be the same as yours? Listening is a skill. You know that. And like any other skill, we can get better. We can get better at listening if we're intentional about it. Communication does not just happen. It doesn't happen until what you communicate is fully understood by those whom you're speaking to. Right? Just because I'm talking now doesn't mean I'm communicating, at least not effectively, because communication doesn't happen until you're understanding what it is that I'm trying to say. And how does that happen? Through good listening. When it comes to listening, we should always be learning and growing and improving. So who should you listen to in your life and in your ministry? Well, those whom you know the best, who share your love for Jesus. For example, in my life, I have some very special people. For example, when I was pastoring, my associate pastor, his name is Clint, and he was the kind of guy I would just always run to. I trusted him because he was honest with me. When there was a problem, if somebody was frustrated or if I did something that might have hurt somebody, I could always go to Clint and say, "Listen, this person shared this with me. What do you think? Is this something I need to work on?" And he might say, "Yeah, Craig, you're doing good, but I think that is something that you can work on right now in your life." Or he might say, "Listen, I know what's going on there. It's not an issue." Like, it's so good to have those people around you that you can listen to. Listen, good leaders will always surround themselves with honest counselors who and that you'll listen to them. You don't have to agree with them, but you should always listen to them. And I ask the same from my leaders. I don't ask them to demand that they listen to everything, or at least I don't demand that they do everything I ask them to do, but I do expect them to listen. I mean, I'm giving them my life and my time, and so at least hear me out. But I want you then to use their own discretion, and I may get something wrong. So listen to those people, the key people that God puts around you. They'll know if you're hearing them or not. And ask them, "Do you feel I'm hearing you when you're speaking to me?" I just encourage you. Give up the need as leaders to always be right. I think somehow, and maybe this is true in some cultures, even more than other cultures, but we think that people won't follow us unless we're always certain and unless we're always right. But that's just not true. They will follow a humble leader. I promise. They'll know someone who knows where they're going and who desires to bring other people with them. Remember, listening builds trust. People will not value you because you speak well. They may be impressed by you, but I'm telling you, there's a lot of people out there whom you can be impressed with. People will not feel valued because you speak well, but they will feel valued when you listen well, when they feel heard. Listening reveals reality. Proverbs 18 says this: to answer before listening, that is folly and shame. It's pretty straightforward. To answer before listening is folly and shame. Leaders often make mistakes not because they lack intelligence, but because they lack information. And they lack information because they're not listening. Another good thing about listening is it slows your reaction time, especially if you know, and you know who you are. If you tend to react quickly, you're probably not listening well, because listening slows that reaction time because it invites reflection. Before you have a thought and before that thought exits your mouth, you have that reflection time. Listening creates that reflection time. Wise leaders don't just respond, they discern. They listen for the facts, the emotions, and the movement of the Holy Spirit. So practice habits of a listening leader. This is important. Here's some things to keep in mind. First, as a leader who wants to grow as a listener, be fully present. Put down the phone and look people right in the eye. Communication, when you're really listening, it communicates worth and value. Secondly, ask good questions. Jesus often led with questions. Jesus once said in Mark chapter 10, "What do you want me to do for you?" He leads in with a question. So ask good questions. Third, reflect back what you hear. So what I'm hearing you say is, you see, when you do that, it shows that you care. Sometimes it doesn't feel natural, but they'll feel valued by it. It shows that you care and that you want to bring clarity. Fourth, listen to emotion and nonverbal as well as the actual content of what they're saying. You know that people don't always only communicate with their words. Listen with empathy and observe, because words convey core information that we're trying to communicate, but our expressions and our tone and our eye contact and our posture, they account for over 60% of our communication. Over 60% of communication is nonverbal. So pay attention, not just to the content of the words, but by their body language. And pause. Lastly, pause before responding. Silence is helpful. Let that be a spiritual discipline for you, like the discipline of silence. Silence gives space for this Holy Spirit, and it gives space for deeper honesty. So here's something to think about this week as you reflect on all this. Ask somebody, be intentional about doing this. Ask somebody, like, what is one challenge that you're facing right now in your ministry? And just let them talk. Just be very mindful when they're talking, to just listen. It's our human nature to do this, where if somebody says, well, I'm really struggling with this, and then because we tend to want to empathize with them, we'll say, oh, I know, I experienced the same thing. And then you start talking about all of your examples. And it sounds like you're expressing empathy, but actually you've turned the conversation from them to yourself. And that is not active listening. It's just the opposite. Resist the need to tell all of your stories. Yeah, I've been struggling with sickness. Oh, I know, I've been struggling with sickness too. Well, what have you just done? You've taken the story away from them and put it on yourself. So just focus on listening to them. So ask them, what is one challenge you're facing in your ministry right now? Don't interrupt them, just listen, and then pause. When they're done, just pause. And then you need to summarize. Well, see, what I hear you saying then is this. And then reflect back, and maybe even ask them to do the same. Let them talk to you about one challenge that you're facing right now, and notice how they respond. Learn from them or learn from their mistakes. How does being heard compare with being advised? Because it always feels better to be heard than to simply be advised. So again, reflect on these things. Just know that you can learn to be a better listener, because truly an effective leader is somebody who is a good listener, because you can't be a good communicator if you're not a good listener. It's an important quality for a leader. So God bless you this week. I'll see you next time.